So recently somebody challenged me to get into God mode in Halo 2, which makes you completely invulnerable to any damage. This is a trick that has been lost to time. So can we do it? Let's give it a shot! So this invincibility / God mode challenge was first posited to me by EJ the Collector in my Discord. Now I had never heard of this in my entire life, but he told me that back in the day there was an invincibility glitch on the mission's sacred icon, where if you had split screen, one player could stand in one of the tubes and the other player would be completely invincible. He then said he was able to use this trick to get all the way to the top of the wall at the end of the mission. But even past this, there's actually a Halo Wikipedia entry for this exact glitch. However, if you were to go through and read this, the glitch cited in the Wikipedia doesn't match the glitch that EJ the Collector was referencing. It says that the only portion that you can do this invincibility glitch is by one of the pistons before you drop all the way to the bottom of the chute, where you then pop outside the final section where the wall is. Now, he was able to pull this off before Halo 3 even came out, so the details for him were a little bit fuzzy. So for this trick, I would have to go and investigate it on my own to see if I could replicate what he did. However, the reference that we have is a video that is, in fairness, highly pixelated based on the capture cards at the time, which can be a little bit of a problem. When you watch this, the flood infection units start attacking him and he just floats all the way up to the wall. This was pretty much the only context that I had past the Wikipedia entry and what he was able to give me via Discord. Also, he did this on the original Halo 2 copy. I wasn't even sure if this was still possible in the MCC variant of the game. But to start this, at least I knew what area to go to be able to do this. I had to make it all the way to the end of the mission, which on Sacred Icon can be quite the hassle. There are about 1 million pistons that you have to activate, 300 chutes that you have to go down, a gondola ride that you have to take, and 5 million flood units you have to walk past. So there wouldn't be the easiest setup for this. If I made a mistake and had to restart the mission, I'd probably have to play 15 to 20 more minutes to get back to the end of the mission to set this up again. Now, with the information that I did have, I knew I had to have one player stand in the final tube section before you exit out the wall at the end of the mission. So I basically just speed ran through this entire mission, made it down the final tube, and my thought was I was planning to leave one player in the tube and then hopefully this would trigger invincibility for me. Now, was it this simple? I wasn't sure, but I wasn't going to discount it. Now I just have to exit the tube and see if I in fact did have invincibility. Now I'm going to be honest, after trying to kill a couple of enemies, I had absolutely no freaking clue whether or not I was invincible because I made a mistake before I even booted up the game. I turned on the Streaking Skull, which when you throw grenades you can get up to double overshields. A secondary effect of the Streaking Skull, though, is that you're constantly losing shields. This can only be remedied by killing enemies throwing grenades or having random various explosions from grenades or from rocket launcher shots. But EJ the Collector told me that if you manage to get into the God mode, you can have flood infection forms attack you and they should start making you float. But by the time I finished off all of the attacking flood, there was only one flood infection form left. Maybe this would be enough, but after I landed on the ground, I randomly got a checkpoint, which was the absolute last thing that I wanted. If I was truly invincible, it would be basically impossible for me to revert to the previous checkpoint. And in order to test to see if this is actually working, I need flood infection units. You automatically generate this checkpoint when there's no enemies left in this section, but in the next section, which is the final section of the mission, you go through a cave on the other side of this wall and handle a couple more flood. Unfortunately, none of these flood are flood infection forms. So like I was referencing earlier, I would have to restart from the very beginning of the mission, speed run through all the chutes, the gondola, all the flood, which makes the setup for this excruciating even compared to some of the more difficult videos that I've done. The second time I played through the mission, I did the exact same things to set this up as I did the last time. However, this time I put on the Acrophobia Skull to try and kill all of the enemy units so that I had enough flood infection forms to see if I could get this to work. With this, I was able to successfully take out all the enemies, but I ended up dying to the flood infection form, which indicated to me that another 20 minutes was wasted, and I didn't do this correctly. Then, surprise, I got another checkpoint and didn't realize it. What the fuck? Explain this to me. Why don't I have a sword? This break the game? How do I go to the last checkpoint and not have the weapons that I had at the previous checkpoint? Oh. After I realized that I just managed to get a checkpoint while not paying attention, I only had one recourse of action, so I didn't have to restart this mission and play all the way from the beginning again. In Halo 2, there's a mechanic where if both players die within 3 to 5 seconds of spawning 5 times in a row, it will automatically revert one previous checkpoint than what is the current checkpoint. This means that I could go back and get this all set up again. Now, I knew I didn't have God mode, but I at least wanted to see if there was a way that I could get these flood infection forms to make me float, even if I didn't have this invincibility glitch activated. So after like literally 5 minutes of having to do precision killing and dying of a second player and I was finally able to get this to revert back. But at this point, I was losing hope for being able to do this. This was actually the 3rd time that I had tried this, and I already had to play through this mission over 10 times trying to figure out this glitch. Now, once again, I didn't really even float. Maybe I went half an inch in the air, but because I didn't have God mode, would this even be possible? I have no idea. And I had no more ideas for months. I first tried this back in January and I gave up on it entirely. Tried it 6 months later, gave up again. But finally, I had found a solution. Okay, I'm once again trying to get into God mode on Sacred Icon. I found a video from the one and only the legend Grumpy, and I figured out that I might be able to get invincibility, but I was doing it completely wrong last time. So let's see what we can do with this. Now in Grumpy's tutorial, he gets invincibility by having one player stand in the chute and then having the other player die. Once the other player spawns in the chute, he then kills him and is able to get invincibility. Super simple, and after watching this, I realized that the Wikipedia entry was completely wrong. Now, would this even work in Halo MCC? We're about to find out. Okay, apparently you can get God mode at this part, according to Grumpy. So we're gonna test it out. So what I need to do is jump to this part, and then I need to stand over here. I need to have player 2 die. I go down this, I should be invincible. So what you have to do is get a player to stop. Player 1 needs to stop on the vent, and then player 2 needs to commit suicide. And then player 1 kills player 2, and I should be invincible. It actually ended up working out. 8.5 months after trying this for the first time, I was finally able to get into God mode, before promptly being launched off the edge. Well, apparently the invincibility does not extend to falling. But at least I know it works now. You motherfuckers. Time to do it on this vent. Now I set this up outside of the first vent on this wall, but this was just a test. I really needed to set up the invincibility in the second vent before we jump to the bottom of the wall. As far as I can go. Now player 2 needs to die. Should work, hopefully. We're going to spawn down here. Let's see if I have invincibility. Okay. I am in God mode. I'm completely invincible right now. Okay, I should be good. Now, My original intended goal was to see if I could get these flood infection units to carry me all the way to the top of the massive wall. However, I got another fucking checkpoint! No, and at this point, I was not willing to restart this mission again. I had God mode, I was gonna get to the top of that wall somehow. I thought about doing the trick where both players die a bunch of times in a row, but then realized this wouldn't be a possibility because I can't die from fall timer. I can't die now. Oh, because I'm in God mode, I literally cannot. I can't die from fall timer. Well, let's see if I can make this cool. What can we do with this? Now, while this checkpoint may have ruined my ability to float up there with flood infection forms, I realized there were 2 large explosive canisters right by where I got a checkpoint. Wonder if I could make it all the way up. And normally, you would never be able to survive a blast while standing on top of these, even if you had up to double overshields. The power is just too great. So I thought, maybe I could use these to shoot up to the top of the wall. I do not have the acrophobia skill on. Oh, that was really close. This could actually be sick. This could actually be real sick. What if I just do the straight up rocket and do like a this type deal? Holy. Yeah, I think that'll work. Get him going a little bit too far. Can I get out of this? Where am I? May have missed the destination slightly. What if I hit myself from this side? Holy fuck! It's still real high. What if I try grenade in the middle? Boom, just like that, dude. Just like that. Whoa, that looks sick. It looks so cool. I never knew that you could see this up here. What is that? If I zoom in, it's no good. I can see the entire elevator shaft. Or you can see the entire middle section from here. That is awesome. It's almost perfectly lined up underneath of this. It's like you were meant to do this. Like, look at this. Let's land in the hole. Bam! Literally right under that, dude. Bungie was hilarious, man. Wait a minute. I just had an idea. You can't normally explore these pits. But since I don't have fall timer, I might just be able to stand on top of this thing. And I could. Oh my, that's okay. I gotta go check that out. This thing is so freaking big. They didn't put the layer of fog all the way down here in Anniversary because they're like, oh, well, you can't get down there anyways. Ha ha ha, little do you know. So normally Fall Timer prevents you from making it very far down this hole. But with God Mode and Fall Timer disabled, I was able to push one of these gravity platforms into the hole and stand on it, exploring an area that I previously thought was unexplorable. Yeah, you can't touch the platform with your feet, but everything around it is fair game. Okay, that was sick. That was sick, dude. I can be happy with this video because that was sick. Bruh. So you can explore these pits.